Hello, I am Kelly, and this is Kelly's Wordy Reactions. All right, so I'm back with a recap of today's events in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Okay? All right, so today is May the 13th, 2025, and today was a big day in the case in the trial. um yeah, it was it was a big day. Let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going back with the if you were here yesterday or if you caught it on the replay, last night I did a recap of the day's events, and so I'm going to go back in with another one just like that tonight. So starting at 6:48 a.m., and this is coming from the Associated Press. Starting at 6:48 a.m., so R&B singer Cassie was set to testify in Sean Diddy Combs' ex-trafficking trial, and we know that she did. All right. If you are just coming in, hello, and thank you for being here. All right. So at 6:52 a.m., things to know about the trial so far. So let's look at that one, because we know that Cassie showed up. All right, witnesses began testifying this week in the trial for one of the biggest music moguls and cultural figures of the past 4 decades. The trial is expected to last at least 8 weeks in all. Here's a look at some of the details. The witnesses. The trial's first witness, Israel Flores, who was working hotel security at the time, testified about responding to a report of a woman in distress and witnessing Combs tell Cassie, "You're not going to leave." And then jurors also heard from Daniel Phillip, who said he was a professional stripper who was paid to have ex with, or let's say relations, with Cassie and Combs, with Cassie while Combs watched and gave instructions. He testified that he once saw Combs drag her by the hair as she screamed. Food for the soul. Hello, Food for the soul. Thank you for stopping in. And if you're just getting here, I'm just starting. We're doing a recap of everything that happened in Diddy's trial today. So yeah, that was Daniel Phillip. And that was, they said he testified that he once saw Combs drag her by her hair as she screamed. Okay, now the trial's main players. The trial is in the courtroom of the U.S. District Judge Arun Subramanian. Another of the main players, the prosecution team, consists of 8 assistant U.S. attorneys, 7 of them women. Let's see. Hello, Big Mac, African Joey, Danielle. Hi, Danielle. Hey, girl. Hey, thanks for joining in. And Paolo says greetings from Brazil. Greetings. Okay, so we got the Judge Subramanian's court. We got the prosecution team, which consists of 8 assistant U.S. attorneys, 7 of them women. Then we have Combs's team of 7 defense attorneys, which is led by New York lawyer Mark Agnifilo, who, along with his wife Karen Friedman Agnifilo, is also defending Luigi Mangione. I don't know why that's important. We are talking about Diddy. Why is that important? Okay. So at 7:11 a.m., the defense conceded Combs had violent outbursts, but say no federal crimes occurred. So they talked about that he tends to be, I'm gonna call it violin. So he tends to be violin, but he'd not done any federal crimes. That's what the defense said. Now at 7:14 a.m., they, meaning the Associated Press, did a recap of the trial on Monday. And then at 7:28 a.m., the jury isn't expected in Manhattan federal court. Wait a minute. The jury isn't expected in Manhattan federal court this morning until 9:30. Okay, so at 7:28, they reported that the jury was not expected to be in until 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. All right, then at 7:35 a.m., the allegations against Combs, and I think we all know what the allegations against Combs are. So I'm not going to go over, well, you know what? It might be important to go over the allegations. So lawyers for the 3-time Grammy winner say prosecutors are wrongly trying to make a crime out of a party-loving lifestyle that may have been indulgent but not illegal. Prosecutors say Combs coerced women into substance-filled group X encounters he called freak-offs, wild king nights, or hotel nights, then kept them in line by choking, hitting, kicking, and dragging them off, often by the hair. The prosecutor said Combs last year brutally, wait a minute, the prosecutor said Combs last year brutally beat another woman, identified only as Jane, when she confronted him about enduring years of freak-offs in dark hotel rooms while he took other paramours, I guess that means like girlfriends, on date nights and trips around the globe. The X parties are central to Combs's SA, prosecutors say. Combs's company paid for the parties held in hotel rooms across the U.S. and overseas, and his employees staged the rooms with his preferred lighting, extra linens, and lubricant, Johnson said. Combs compelled women, including Cassie, to take substances and engage in this activity with male escorts, while he gratified himself and sometimes recorded them, Johnson said. Okay, that was at 7:35 a.m. that was reported. All right, another topic at 7:42, another topic the attorneys and the judge may discuss, which is what? All right, another possible topic for discussion between attorneys and the judge this morning could arise over an argument by media organizations that some recordings are to be shown to the jury involving sexual activity should not be sealed. The media outlets include ABC, CBS, NBC, the Associated Press, Business Insider, National Public Radio, Newsday, the New York Times, the New York Post, Reuters, New York Magazine, and the Washington Post. The plan was for the jury to view the recordings, but not the public. The media outlets say a viewing of the recordings is necessary because they could play a central role in determining the guilt or innocence of Combs. Lawyers for him say the sexual activity is a glimpse into the into the swingers lifestyle and not evidence of crimes. A lawyer for R&B singer Cassie, who's expected to testify Tuesday, opposed the media request, saying the news organization cited no legal precedent for unsealing videos depicting coercive X acts. Okay, I don't think, well, we'll get to it. I don't think the judge ruled on that as of yet. Okay, so at 7:56, judge rejects claims that Combs was treated differently because of his race. Let's see what that was all about. So the judge presiding over the racketeering and ex-trafficking trial of hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs said last week there was no evidence to back up his lawyer's claim he was treated differently because of his race. Okay. That was last week. So some of these are just I guess I would say like little write-ups that the Associated Press is putting out through the day. And then at the end of the day, they have a whole recap of everything that was put out. So, all right. Moving on from that. So at 8:06 a.m., Phillips set to retake the stand Tuesday. So Daniel Phillip did retake the stand. At 8:12 a.m., Combs's family, including his mother and children, have arrived at court. Okay. 8:19 a.m. testimony on Tuesday morning. 8:25 a.m. Combs's appearance in court. Let's look at the testimony. Okay, they're just saying that testimony will be given. Okay, let's see what Combs's appearance was today. That's odd. They didn't say what he had on today. But we know he's in regular clothes. So they said he is allowed up to 5 button-down shirts, 5 pairs of pants, 5 sweaters, 5 pairs of socks, and 2 pairs of shoes without laces. So this is okay. I understand now. That's why he's I was wondering, why is he wearing this instead of a suit? But he's wearing this because this is what he's allowed. He's allowed the button-down shirt and he's allowed sweater, not a jacket. Pants, socks, and shoes without laces. So he's wearing what he's allowed to wear. Okay. At 8:25 a.m., the judge has taken the bench. At 8:39 a.m., on the media's request to view the sexually explicit material in the trial. So they talked about that again. Let's see, if there was a ruling. Okay, Judge Arun Subramanian says he's inclined to grant a request by media organizations to view what a defense lawyer described as porno. What can we, So that's what the defense lawyer described it as, videos that will be shown to the jury as evidence in the case. But he's given the parties another day to make submissions on the matter. The judge says he needs to balance privacy issues of the witnesses and defendant with the rights of the public to know what's happening during the trial. So the judge is inclined to let them look at the X videos that are going to be shown, but he's going to give both sides more time to make more arguments. Okay. So that was at 8:39. At 8:43, who is Cassie? So they did like a little write-up about who is Cassie. At 8:54 a.m., the arguments on if the media should be able to see the material. 8:54, the judge has entered the courtroom and testimony has resumed. At 9:01, more on arguments over whether the media should be able to view the explicit material. Well, they talked about that for a while. Okay. At 9:05, prior to the start of the trial, numerous submissions by attorneys and prosecutors were sealed. And then at 9:10, they did a write-up of who is Sean Diddy Combs. At 9:29, Daniel Phillips' testimony Tuesday morning. So we can pop back in and just do a little recap about his testimony today. So Combs' trial resumed Tuesday with the hip-hop mogul's lawyer questioning Daniel Phillip, a male stripper who says he was paid to have sex with Cassie while Combs watched. Defense lawyer Xavier Donaldson pointed to Phillips' past statements to federal prosecutors as he attempted to show inconsistencies in his recollection of events. Donaldson finished his cross-examination after suggesting Phillip had developed a crush on Cassie and wanted to isolate her from Combs so he could be with her romantically. Phillip denied that, but admitted, "I was attracted to her. If she ever gave me the chance to date her, I absolutely would have." Okay. And once Donaldson was finished, a prosecutor asked Phillip more questions, underscoring the witness' earlier testimony that it was Combs who directed his sexual activity with Cassie. Okay, so they got him, they got him on the stand and they're trying to chop down on his credibility. Okay. All right, if you're just coming in, thank you for joining the live. And I appreciate you being here. All right, so at 9:29, that was 9:29, 9:39, Daniel Phillip left the stand. Okay, at 9:47 a.m., Judge Arun Subramanian has called a 10-minute break prior to R&B singer Cassie's testimony. So they had a break, and then Cassie took the witness stand. So they're saying before Cassie takes the witness stand, y'all give me a minute. Thought I had water and it was gone. Okay, so thank you for that. So before Cassie took the witness stand, a judge ruled that her husband, Alex Fine, can be in the courtroom for most, but not all of her testimony. Okay, so Judge Arun Subramanian, acting on a defense request. So the defense wanted to actually have him taken out of the courtroom for all of Cassie's testimony. And so they agreed on him being out for part of her testimony. So the judge said Fine must leave the courtroom when questioning turns to Cassie's allegation that Combs R-worded her in 2018. That's because Combs's lawyers say they may call Fine as a witness later in the trial in an attempt to discredit Cassie's allegation. So prosecutors argued that Fine is part of the emotional support system for Cassie, who's pregnant with their third child and should be in the courtroom when she testifies. So he'll only have to be out on that small part. Well, it's a big deal, but it's a small part of her testimony. Okay, so at what time was this? So 10:01. So at 10:03, Cassie began testifying. And let's see if they talked about. Okay, they didn't talk about what she said yet. 10:08, Cassie is on the witness stand. All right, so we have Cassie on the witness stand. Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson started questioning of Cassie by asking her age, which is 38, and her occupation, which she said is musician and entertainer. She said she was in a relationship with Combs for just over 10 years. Cassie testified that her relationship with Combs ran the gamut from good times to arguments and physical altercations. If they were, and this is in quotes, if they were violent arguments, it would usually result in some sort of physical abuse and dragging. Just different things, Cassie told jurors. She testified that Combs would mash her head, drag her, kick her, and stomp her in the head when she was down. Asked how frequently Combs became violin with her, Cassie softly responded, "Too frequently." That was at 10:08. And of course, this is definitely not all of the testimony. This is just recap and like highlights. Okay, so at 10:12, early in her testimony, Cassie was asked briefly about freak-offs. So, freak-offs, in quotes, were the highly orchestrated ex-parties which she said stemmed from Combs's interest in voyeurism. They would entail hiring an escort and, in quotes, setting up this experience so that I would perform for Sean, Cassie said. Shown still images from the now infamous 2016 security camera footage of Combs beating her at a Los Angeles hotel. Cassie said prior to the altercation, we were having an encounter called a freak off. and I was leaving there. So, from my understanding of listening and reading throughout the day, Cassie apparently was trying to get to a premiere of something that she had done, like a movie or something made for TV or a movie. And she was trying to be successful and get to her premiere. And she knew that if she was engaged in this freak off, that who knows how long it was going to last, because apparently these things could last up to 4 days as well. So she was trying to just be responsible and make it to her premiere. And he was doing all these things to stop her from leaving, because she had decided that she was going to leave and she was not going to, sabotage her own opportunity for this with this premiere. So this is how we got to the point of getting all that video that was in the hallway of the hotel. Okay, so at 10:12, okay, 10:17, Cassie was emotional from the start. And let me see if they said what she said. Okay, so she would take deep breaths and sometimes pause as she spoke. When the prosecutor questioned her about freak-offs, she said she was barely 22 when Combs first asked her to do them. She said she was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much. This is all in quotes. Asked how she felt when Combs first proposed engaging in a freak-off, Cassie said, in quote, "I just remember my stomach falling to my butt. Just the nervousness and confusion in that moment." And she said she didn't feel like she could say no to Combs because, in quotes, she didn't know what no could be or what no could turn into, which she said she learned could include violin and blackmail threats. And then in quotes, "Sean controlled a lot of my life, whether it was career, the way I dressed, everything. I just didn't have much say in it at the time," Cassie testified. And that was at 10:17 a.m. So 10:26 a.m. I just didn't know what would happen. Elaborating on why she felt it was so difficult to refuse Combs' demands, Cassie reiterated her fears of violin and blackmail videos from freak-offs being disseminated on the internet. Sean is, in quotes, "Sean is a really polarizing person, also really charming," Cassie said. "It's hard to really be able to decide in that moment what you need when he's telling you what he wants. I just didn't know. I didn't know what would happen." And that's all in quotes. So at 10:31, Cassie talks about Combs kissing her during a 21st birthday trip. And she said, or it reads, "After touching on the violin at freak-offs that are central to the federal charges, Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson returned to eliciting biographical and historical information about Cassie, including when she first signed to Bad Boy Records in early 2006. She said her interactions with Combs, who owned the label, were platonic at first, but then he kissed her during her 21st birthday trip to Las Vegas in the bathroom of his hotel suite. In quotes. I was just really confused at the time, she said. And also in quotes, and young. Okay. So 1042, after Vegas trip, Cassie says Combs invited her to hotels. After the Vegas trip, Cassie said she was invited by Combs to hotels in New York where they'd talk about music projects and albums. When Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson asked what else happened at hotels, Cassie took a deep breath and said she was introduced to the, quote, idea of oral X at the hotels. Cassie also noted that Combs is 17 years older than her and that she was actually inexperienced, in quotes, when they first got together. She said she eventually had relations with Combs on a boat during a trip to Miami. She said she had wine in the afternoon, and then Combs introduced her to ecstasy for the first time. My God. My goodness, how romantic. Oh my God. Okay, so at 10:45 a.m., um, having relations with Combs for the first time felt like a turning point for Cassie. She testified. Let's see what she said about that. After that, she said she felt closer to the rapper and producer, started spending more time with him, and thought at the time that they were in a monogamous relationship. In hindsight, she said she knows that was not the case. Asked why, she responded, in quotes, Sean Combs had many girlfriends. All right. At 10:50, as Cassie testified, the prosecution introduced photos of her and Combs at events in the mid 2000s. At 10:52, at times in her testimony, Cassie rested her hands on her pregnant belly. At 11:01 a.m., over time, Cassie testified, Combs became increasingly controlling and sometimes was violent. She said Combs would get abusive over the smallest perceived slights. If she wasn't smiling at the time the way he wanted, or if he thought she was acting like a brat, in quotes, you make the wrong face, and the next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face, she said. Cassie said that if she didn't respond to his call right away, there would be incessant calls until she did, and Combs' staff, including security workers, would join in the pursuit. Oh my goodness. So she couldn't even not answer her phone, because if she didn't answer, he would just call and call and call more. And then if he still couldn't get her, he would send his security to come to her place and look for her, track her down. All right, 11:16 a.m., Cassie testifies. She was insanely jealous. She was insanely jealous at the beginning of her relationship with Combs. Let's see. Jealousy was cited during opening statements Monday. Hold on. As a source of much of the conflict between Combs and Cassie, Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson elicited from Cassie that she and Combs were seeing other people at times. In the beginning, Cassie said she was, in quotes, insanely jealous. She said that resulted from being, quote, super young. And also in quotes, I didn't get that I didn't get that he was I didn't get that he was him. I didn't get that he was him. I don't know. As he would say. Oh, all right, let me try to read that a little bit different. I didn't get that he was him. As he would say, I'm Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy has many rules, likes the company of women. That's all in quotes, she recalled. She said that as time passed, she came to believe, in quotes, more often than not, that they were in a monogamous relationship. And in quotes, he expected that of me, so I assumed it was the same. And then she said Combs told her, I'm not dealing with anyone else. It's just us. Okay, so he did give her reason to believe that at a point. Sounds like. And then at 11:23 a.m., prosecutors delved deeper into the control Cassie says Combs exerted over her. Let's see. And then 11:24 a.m., lunch break. Hang on, I got to check on my dog. All right. Thank y'all for hanging in there. If you are just coming in, we are catching up on what happened in Diddy's trial today, just going over some of the highlights. If you don't mind, hit the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're going to be doing a lot of keeping up with the Diddy trial as it goes on. Okay. So 11, 16. All right, she talked about being jealous. 11:23. Prosecutors delved deeper into the control Cassie says Combs exerted over her. So she noted that the rap star paid her rent at apartments close to his residence in New York and later Los Angeles. Had his own sets of keys and made, quote, a lot of unannounced visits. Cassie said that as a birthday present, Combs rented her a Manhattan apartment a few blocks from where he lived. Another apartment Combs rented for Cassie in Los Angeles was just a 3-minute drive. Three. Oh my gosh. That's like down the driveway. It was just a 3-minute drive. I lost my place. From his home, and he'd sometimes drive a golf cart to get from one residence to another. Wow. Okay. 11:23. Okay, and then they had their lunch break. And then 11:27, just before the break, Cassie testified the longest freak off she was involved in lasted 4 days. Um okay, in quotes. The freak offs became a job, she said, noting that other encounters took anywhere from 36 or 48 hours. The marathon sessions frequently required periods of recovery from dehydration, fatigue, and substance use, she said. 11 11:31. Before the break, Cassie testified about her music career and unreleased material. Before the trial paused for a 40-minute lunch break, Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson pressed Cassie to explain what happened to her music career and the 9 albums that were never released. Cassie said she created hundreds of songs, some of which were released on the internet prior to, quote, proper release, and some just didn't see the light of day. Cassie testified that much of her week went toward the freak offs. And, in quotes, freak offs became a job where there was no space to do anything else but to recover and just try to feel normal again, she said. Wow. From her lawsuit, and we know she couldn't put everything in the lawsuit, but from her lawsuit, I didn't get that. And I guess this trial is just like so much better for her to be able to tell her full story of everything that she was dealing with, because I did get the feeling that the whole freak off thing was invasive for sure. Just like, but I didn't get this. I didn't get that, like, she's having to do this um every week, and maybe even for several days throughout the week, or several days in a row of a week. And then she says this went on for years. And wow, I didn't get that the the lawsuit. It just seemed like was happening, but you wouldn't have thought to this magnitude. Let's see. 12:56 after lunch. Cassie says she saw Combs and his bodyguard grab guns to confront Suge Knight. Suge Knight enters the chat. Oh my gosh. Okay. Cassie recalled an incident in which Combs left her during a freak off at his Los Angeles home to confront rival record executive Suge Knight at Mel's Drive-In, a landmark diner nearby. Combs sprang into action after his bodyguard came in and told him of Knight's whereabouts. She said, Combs and the bodyguard, dressed in black clothes, grabbed guns from a safe and loaded into an SUV, she said. In quotes, I was crying, I was screaming, like, please don't do anything stupid. Cassie testified, I was really, in quotes, I was really nervous for them. I didn't know what they were going to do. She said, in quotes, it's like I wasn't even there. And Cassie said Combs later returned, but she didn't say if he told her what happened. Oh, okay. So that's kind of like a cliffhanger. It's unclear if he ended up encountering Knight at the diner. I bet they're going to swing back around to that one. Okay, at 1:25 p.m., Cassie says Combs was really happy with her, after her first freak off? Well, I assume he was. Cassie testified that her first freak off occurred in Combs's Los Angeles home when she was 22, around 2008. She said a male Las Vegas stripper came to the home just months after Combs told her about his interest in voyeurism. Cassie said she felt a mix of emotions when they were finished: dirty and confused, but also relief that Combs was, in quote, really happy with me, that I, in quotes, did something right. She said she felt obligated to go along with the future. No, she felt obligated to go along with future freak offs. 1:40 p.m. Each freak off involved about 10 large bottles of Johnson's brand baby oil. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is crazy. Okay. Cassie said the freak offs were, in quotes, very choreographed experience with lots of baby oil. So we are really getting down to the bottom of why he needed to have 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Okay, let's go. The substance would be heated up. A closed bottle placed in a sink filled with hot water and applied liberally because Combs wanted her glistening constantly, she said. Combs would call out Cassie when she, quote, looked dry, and ordered her to reapply, sometimes requiring I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, is anybody else laughing or am I just the only silly person? Because this is hilarious. I mean, it's horrible and awful, but this is also just, it's like, I don't know. It's just unbelievable. All right, let me try to pull it together. Um, Sometimes, and he ordered her to reapply, sometimes requiring a new coat of baby oil every. I can't get it together. Oh, oh my goodness. I don't know. I guess let me clean my glasses here. Earlier today, I literally cried because I could not believe that they would be so horrific as to not want her husband in the courtroom with her while she's having to give all this uh I don't even know what to call this, but that was just really, that just really made my heart sink, just to think that she's going to have to sit up here and say all this, and then they, tried to do a motion to get her husband put out. They didn't want him in the courtroom at all, but they agreed on just asking him to get out during one part of testimony. So I was happy about that, but that really made me emotional the other way. This is almost too funny to read. But anyway, I got it. Okay. So sometimes requiring a new coat of baby oil every 5 minutes or so, she said. On one occasion, she said a blow up pool of baby oil and lubricants was placed in a hotel room, and she was told to get inside in her outfit and shoes. I'm gonna pass out. Oh God. She said close to 10 large size bottles of baby oil would be used during a freak off. It was, in quotes, it was such a mess, she said. It was like, what are we doing? Oh my God. This fetish right here is crazy. This is crazy. Who cleaned this up? How much did he have to pay? How much did he have to pay for somebody to come in there? I guess he could have put the blow up pool in there, and then that's not that difficult. But how do you get that out of there? Who took that out of there? How did he Where did they dispose of all this baby oil? So many questions. So I wish, just for the people in the back like me, can y'all tell me how y'all clean? How y'all got rid of all this baby oil? Oh my gosh. Okay. So 146, prosecutor emphasizes Combs' alleged involvement. Passion tea. You said that's a lot of Dawn detergent to cancel out all that oil. Oh my God. Oh, wow. It's just something that is just hard to wrap your mind. We shouldn't be trying to wrap our mind around this. It's no way. We shouldn't have to even try to think this. Where did he come up with this at? I wonder if it was ever a movie, or like, who told him to do this? Oh man. All right. If y'all are just coming in, thank you for joining. I appreciate you being here, and hit the like button. All right. So so as the prosecutor questioned Cassie, prosecutor Emily Johnson returned again. No, that's not right. As she questioned Cassie, prosecutor Emily Johnson returned again and again to a simple but important question: whose decision was it? And then Sean, Cassie replied each time, referring to Combs. It was his decision, she said, to involve her in freak offs, to incorporate baby oil and male ex workers, to pour candle wax on her body, and more. Candle wax. I missed that one. I think I'd almost prefer candle wax to all that baby oil, though. just, just being honest. Like, give me a little bit of candle wax. Forget all this baby oil, sir. It's just not going down like that. Okay, so 209. Watch. Cassie. Okay. Cassie testifies and Diddy. Okay. So that's just like a commentator talking about what happened. Okay, 2:56 p.m. Cassie says she used drugs during every freak off. She used substances during every freak off she participated in. Let's talk about that. When a prosecutor asked why, she replied, "For me," in quotes, "for me, it was disassociative and numbing. I couldn't imagine myself doing any of that without having some sort of buffer or way to not feel it for what it really was, which was emotionless sex with a stranger that I didn't really want to have this relations with." During her testimony, Cassie identified some of the many male escorts she says she hired for freak-offs at Combs' behest. As she spoke, prosecutors displayed photos of the men on courtroom monitors. She identified some by their real names. Others she knew only by their nicknames, including the Punisher. Cassie said some of the men procured online were flown to freak offs in such places as Los Angeles, Miami, and Las Vegas. Others were only used for encounters in New York City. One of those men, a stripper named Daniel Phillip, testified on Monday and Tuesday. And see, that's where, I mean, if they can prove that, what she just said, that some of these men were flown to the freak offs that Diddy hired, um, this is proving up the trafficking charge. And that's if the jury believes that it's provable beyond a shadow of a doubt. So if they can prove that, he's sunk. Forget about her. um you're not supposed to pay people for that anyway, but let alone fly them around from state to state. That's trafficking. The Bears TV says, "Hey grandma." Hey, the Bears TV. How'd you know I was a grandma? Do I know you? I am certainly a grandma. All right. Let's see. 3:38 p.m. Cassie says she was heavily objectified during the freak offs. Cassie testified that she tried to speed up freak off relation acts with male ex-workers so she could get to the part she liked, alone time with Combs. Wow. So she's got to do all this with everybody else just to finally get to be alone with what she thought was her boyfriend. Okay. She said Combs dictated every aspect of the encounters and that he'd get mad if they ended too soon. In quotes, it was his fantasy, she said. In quotes, he was controlling the whole situation. He was directing it. Cassie said sometimes Combs would make her repeat the having relations with the escorts. On other occasions, she said multiple I can't even get it out. On other occasions, she said multiple escorts were involved. In quotes, I was an object being heavily objectified by men in that scenario, she testified. Combs didn't always stay in the room to watch Cassie have relations with these male escorts, she said. Sometimes he'd go to another room and watch them via FaceTime, the iPhone video call app, she testified. That was at 3:38 p.m. At 3:56, okay, somebody just kind of talked about what she talked about. Then at 3:57, Cassie says Combs' staff had access to freak off videos. Let's see what she had to say about that. Hello, hello, hello. If you're just coming in, thank you for joining. All right, let's see what happened. Cassie said Combs' staff had access to those freak off videos. Cassie says she remembers, quote, feeling insane when Combs told her he wanted to start recording videos of the freak offs. He, in quotes, he explained it was for him for after, Cassie testified. She said they'd sometimes watch the videos while having relations. Cassie said she was apprehensive about being recorded and went on to delete videos that he recorded using her electronic devices. Other videos were on his devices, which could be accessed by his staff, she said. And at 4:07, testimony ends for the day. Um, let's see. More details on the last bit of testimony. As of the video of Cassie being dragged and kicked at an elevator in Los Angeles in 2016, um, as the video was being shown in court, at the end of the day, several jurors looked up from the video on the monitors in front of them and settled their eyes on Cassie. She did not seem emotional as the video was shown, but it came at the end of the day after lengthy testimony with graphic descriptions of X acts she says she carried out to please Combs. Combs interacted with lawyers on the other side of him during Cassie's testimony, but remained largely stoic. During an afternoon break, he made a heart shape with his hands toward one of his twin daughters and mouthed, "Thank you." He also blew a kiss toward his mother. 4:39 p.m. Judge provisionally denies reporters' request to be shown freak off footage. Ooh, what is that? Provisionally. All right. So, media organizations, including the Associated Press, had asked the judge to let at least 3 pool reporters view explicit recordings that will be shown to the jury on Wednesday. So, the jury is going to get to see some freak off videos tomorrow, y'all. But Judge Arun Subramanian provisionally denied the request. He gave attorneys Tuesday night to make any additional submissions before he rules on the subject Wednesday morning. So, freak off videos are going to be shown tomorrow, and he is going to rule before then if some of the press can see them. Hold again, please. Okay, so all right, so Mike Olson in the comments says Diddy is cooked. Stanley Nicholson, is Diddy going down? That's what they're deciding in this next 2 or 3 months. Let's see. Is that Mrs. And? Hey, from Lexington, Kentucky. Hello, Mrs. And, Mr. Sand. Either Mrs. And MRSAND. Okay, Mrs. And or Mr. Sand. Mike Olson, the jury gonna watch the video of Diddy beating old girl. She's gonna go in front of the jury and tell her story. He's cooked. I definitely think he's cooked. I've heard it, a couple different ways. And, this is only the second day of testimony. They are predicting this trial to go out at least 2 months. So this is like I don't know. I wouldn't even say a movie getting off to a slow start because it just started. So, we gotta they're kind of like putting building blocks together right now, I think. Let's see. Mike Olson says not to mention all the other witnesses and evidence. And she's gonna tell her story pregnant. Tell it, Mike. Tell it. Um okay. And Acero said Cassie is going to jail soon. Why would Cassie be going to jail? You may not still be here. Let's see what this said. Um, Somebody's comment got held for review, so if you don't see your comment, it must have been kind of crazy because they held it. Let's see. Stanley said, "This is cousin Nunu." I don't have a cousin Nunu. You got the wrong cousin. Diddy, modern day pimping. Okay, I'm just looking back up in the comments to see if there was anything that I could actually answer or speak on. I saw one video, they said his parents were the same way, Passion T. I've heard that too about, yeah, I guess mother or the lady that, I'm not sure if the lady that's his mother going to the court, if that's his biological mother. I guess it could be. I've heard that was his aunt that raised him. So I don't know. Heidi Robinson, she said she had to get out of here. That was funny. If you're still here, Heidi. Okay. Y'all, that baby oil is forever famous and infamous now. Nobody will ever look at the bottles of Johnson and Johnson the same. It's another message that got held for review. What y'all be talking about? Because they'll hold a comment. Let's see. Machiavelli said, Cassie not a victim. Years of living in luxury and getting trains. Oh my gosh. She playing stupid. Oh. Let's see. Paulo, interesting theme. I'm Brazilian lawyer here in Brazil. We work with defenses in a different way of crime process, different ways to see the law and the rules. Oh, that's interesting. I wish I had seen this earlier because Paulo, did you leave? I'd like to hear more. Dell Style 101. Thank you. Okay. I think everything else I acknowledge. Let me run down to the bottom and see if there's anything else. Let me check. All right. No, that's about it. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for catching up with me tonight. If you haven't, looks like a lot of people did like the video, but if you didn't already like it, please do like. And also, if you want to keep coming back and doing these recaps and updates with me, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and that will ensure that whenever I go live, you'll be notified. All right. Well, thank you, and hopefully everybody has a good night. And I will be back on tomorrow. And tomorrow should be a very interesting day in this trial because they're going to actually pop out the freak off videos, and we'll get a chance to see if the press is going to, or any of the press is going to get to view, or just the jury. All right. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.